Hi everyone. In this video I want to talk to you about chord inversions, what they are, what makes them so magical and useful. Now, if I take any chord, say a C major chord with the notes C, E, and G, as long as I have those notes in the chord, it's going to be that chord. It's going to be a C major chord, but I don't have to play them in that order. I can flip the chord, so I have, for example, E, G, C, or flip it again so I have G, C, E. And those flipped chords are what we call inversions. They're very important and very useful in music, as we'll see in just a moment. So let's just do a little practice with that. Let's take another chord. Let's say I take an A major chord, an A and a C sharp and an E. I'm going to flip that by taking the bottom note here, this A, and putting it up on the top. That gives me what we call the first inversion of the chord. And if I do that again, I take the C sharp and I put that on top, I have now the second inversion of the chord. Now notice all three chords have the exact same notes in them. They all have an A, C sharp, and E. That's what we call the root position with the A on the bottom. C sharp, E, A, the first inversion, and E, A, C sharp, the second inversion. So what am I going to do with those inversions that makes them so magical? Well, to show you that, I'm going to take a tune that I think most of you probably know. It's an Elton John song famous from The Lion King called Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And it starts out like this. Now, you'll notice in this tune we have this beautiful descending bass line. We go from B flat to A flat to G flat, down to F, down to E flat, and so forth. Now, the way he does that is by using inversions. And inversions in pop music often have these slash symbols. You'll see the second chord there, F slash A, or the third chord, E flat slash G flat. That means in the case of the first chord, I have an F chord with an A on the bottom. So if I take my F major chord and I invert it into first inversion, so A, C, F, now the A is on the bottom, and that's what we call an F over A chord, or in classical terminology, we would say it's an F in first inversion. So let's look at this. He starts with a B flat chord, right? We have the notes B flat, D, and F here. I'm playing 3 B flats, 1 D, and 1 F. So I have the notes B flat, D, F, and the B flat is the bottom note in the left hand. So that's why we call that chord a root position chord. But as I go to the next chord, now I have an F major chord. I have the notes F, A, and C, the notes that make up an F major chord, but I have the A on the bottom, so that's what we call a first inversion chord of the F major chord. In the next chord, I have an E flat major chord, but I have a G flat on the bottom. So I have the notes E flat here and here, G on the bottom, and B flat. So if I put those all together, here's my basic root position of that chord, but when I flip it and put the G flat on the bottom and double a couple of notes, I end up with an E flat in first inversion. And the next chord after this E flat on the top, which is what we might call an appoggiatura or a neighbor note, we have a B flat chord, B flat, D, and F, with F on the bottom. So we call that a B flat chord in second inversion, because if I take my basic B flat chord and I flip it, I have D, F, B flat. That's my first inversion. If I flip it again, F, B flat, D. If I have any B flat chord where my F is the bottom note, like this one, then I call that a B flat chord in second inversion. Now, the amazing thing about these inversions and why they're so cool is it allows us to have a nice, smooth bass line. If I were playing all of these chords in root position, it would sound something like this. And that's okay, but listen to the way the music just pulls downward so nicely when I have the descending bass line going down to G and going down to F and to E flat and D and so on. And now these nice chords going up, also making use of inversions in order to create that nice, smooth bass line. So that's one of the cool things you can do with inversions, but it's not the only thing. Another really great use of inversions is to create a nice melody and to be able to harmonize that melody with the right notes on top. For example, this melody begins with a D on the top, but we might want to harmonize it with a B flat chord. Well, how do I do that? I have to, in my right hand, use the B flat chord that has the D as its top note. So I have D on the top, my B flat in the middle, and F on the bottom. Which inversion of B flat is that? Well, let's compare it with our root position B flat chord. Here's our root position B flat chord. First inversion would be D, F, and B flat, and my second inversion would be F, B flat, and D. So I hope that helps and shows you a little bit of the magic of these inverted chords. And if you want more information on how to build chords and are looking for a comprehensive piano academy that'll take you step by step through the things you need to know, check out petersonpianoacademy.com. See you in the next video.